everybody, welcome back to the Dice Tower as we continue going through the Board Game Geek Top 100 games as of February 2020. I'm taking a look at these games, giving you my personal opinions on them, also comparing it to the last time I did this, which was in January 2018, so we're seeing a 2-year difference. We're going to start with the Gamers Party Game, which is Codenames. Codenames is a party game. Party games have a hard time hitting the top 100 list on Board Game Geek, getting rated highly at all. But Codenames has done so, and I think part of that is because it's a thinky game and you can be kind of clever with it as you give clues. It also works really well in teams of 2 or, you know, a whole team against another team. They've come out with a pictures version, Simpsons, Marvel, Disney versions. Last time this was number 37, so it's dropped a bit because, again, it's hard for party games to stay in the top 100, but I think that you'll see people talking about and playing this for a long time. Then, number 69 is Crokinole. Now, Crokinole, last time I said the oldest game on the list, Crokinole is 100% the oldest game on this list here, and there's all kinds of cool Crokinole boards. Man, I want this one here. Ooh. That one looks cool. That one looks cool. That one looks cool. I have a Crokinole board, and this game's pretty simple. You're flicking discs and trying to get them in that middle hole. If you don't, you still want them in the middle. You want them as close to the middle as possible. And when it's your turn to flick a disc, you need to hit the other person's disc with yours. It needs to bounce off theirs somehow, or one of their discs that's on the board. The rules are very simple, very easy to get into, and this one has a lot of staying power because it was 68 last time, so not a lot of change. Then we have Teotihuacan, City of Gods. The game here, this one is new to the list, and it is first on the list of games that are hard to pronounce. In this game, you are building a ziggurat. You can see it there. It's really cool. It's kind of a three-dimensional game as you put these pieces down. And what it has is it has dice that are moving around the outside of the board, and the higher the value of the die, the more powerful that die is, and then you're going to basically move on this giant rondel and take actions. This game is really well received. It's from the same folks who made Tzolk'in. This one, as soon as it came out, people were very clamoring to play it. I like it a lot. I think it scales really well too. And it looks like a lot of math, a lot of Euro games, and it is to some degree, but it is doing very well. Number 67, which was 57 last year, is kind of the opposite. This one is Battlestar Galactica. Now, Battlestar Galactica is a game based on an intellectual property, and it's hard for me to imagine it being based on anything else. In this game, players are trying to get the ship to safety, at the same time trying to figure out who is a Cylon and trying to stop that from happening. There's a lot of social deduction games out there now, but this one does a really good job at putting you in the character of these people and, there's just this tension that's going on board. Now, it's a little long for me these days, but it's still extremely popular. It's, again, unfortunately, a game that I don't know that we'll see reprinted. Fantasy Flight, the series has been over for a while. There's even talks of another reboot of this series coming, the TV series. And it's hard to sell games based on intellectual properties these days, but this one did it better than almost anything else. So from 57 last time to 67 now, I think it's still going pretty strong. Now, another new one to the list is our number 66, and that is Lisboa. Vasel is very much loved by people who like heavy Euro games, and nowhere is that more evident than on Board Game Geek itself. People there like his games. This one, despite the fact that I think they used too much blue ink on the cover, does very well. This is one of the games I've not played yet in the top 100. I will probably give it a whirl at some point, even though so far Mr. Lacerda's games haven't really hit the spot for me, except Escape Plan, which will never hit the Board Game Geek top 100. But this one here, which is an extremely thinky game, I once watched a party of people learn how to play the game at 11 o'clock at night, and I came in the next day and they were all very sad and tired because they had been up for hours and hours. From what I understand, there's a lot going on in this game in which you are rebuilding Lisboa after an earthquake. And I'm not going to say a lot more because there's not a lot more I know about it. But jumping onto the list at 66 is pretty strong. At 65, we have a sequel to a game we've already talked about, and that's Dominion Intrigue. Just like, this is one, again, I wish kind of this one wasn't on the list at all, because this is essentially just Dominion. Again, it's just a different base set. And a lot of people are probably only going to buy this. That's not part of the set. A lot of people are going to probably only buy this set, and there's a lot of made-up pictures in this. Apparently, these are not real pictures of the game. Alrighty, maybe that's a different one. Anyhow, a lot of people bought this set because they already like Dominion. I did. When this first came out, I was super excited about it. Like, oh, there's some cards from the set. Like, ooh, I want to see new cards from Dominion. So, again, I think that's why this one skews higher than the original. Then number 64, which was 59 last time, is Mombasa. Alexander Pfister's another designer that whenever he comes out with a new game, it has a good chance of making it top 100 because people just love his stuff. Mombasa is a really good one in this regard. In this one, you are spreading your business, I don't know whether your trading house, that the theme of this one is not very strong, throughout Africa, and you're working with 4 different ones. The colors that you can see here on this board are not you. You're kind of spreading those throughout. And you've seen this one, interestingly enough, I think is a pretty good game, but as time has gone by, we're seeing kind of vapors of the ideas in this one came out in Great Western Trail, and even in Maracaibo, which just came out this past year. This one is pretty strong. There's a lot of people who are not happy with the theme of this one, but it still has overcome that to make the list here at number 64. Number 63, by the way, I'm a big fan of this list, how we see these really heavy Euro games, and then we saw Battlestar Galactica, and here we see another heavy Euro game, and then we go to Eldritch Horror, which is very different than Mombasa in every way imaginable. This is a sequel to Arkham Horror, and if I believe correctly, is higher than Arkham Horror, the board game, at this point in time. This one has dropped, though. It was 44 last time, and I think, interestingly enough, with Fantasy Flight, they keep coming out with games that cannibalize their own games. Eldritch Horror came out, then they got rid of Arkham Horror. Now they came out with a new edition of Arkham Horror, and they also have Arkham Horror, the card game, and Mansions of Madness. And so you're like, oh, which one of these am I going to be part of? So this is Eldritch Horror, a game where you're gallivanting across the globe, trying to stop Cthulhu with the help of and other elder gods, with the help of various people. It gives a much bigger world picture to this, which you don't often see in an Arkham-style game. Number 62, which was not on the list last year because it had just come out to the public, and that is Rising Sun. This is game number 2 from Eric Lang, taking place in a fictionalized Japan with some really, really nasty Oni monsters here. And this one, I could have told you would have hit the top 100 as soon as it was announced, practically, because everyone really loved Blood Rage. This was announced as a sequel to Blood Rage, and while it plays very, very differently than Blood Rage, it has those great miniatures that CMON is known for, and it had a really solid rule set. And while Blood Rage was based on an older game, Rising Sun wasn't really based on anything. It just came from the mind of Eric Lang and offered alliances, a really cool combat system. I love Rising Sun a lot, and I'm definitely not alone. And if you look at all these miniatures, they look cool and fantastic. So we got Rising Sun. And then finally, the last one for today, number 61, which is number 50. And this one's been on the list for a really long time, and that is El Grande. This one came out in 1995. That's weird to think that this game is 25 years old. 25 years old is pretty old for a game. But El Grande, which is the very basis of area control. You're putting these caballeros out, these cubes in these different regions, along with your El Grande pieces, and you score the points that are in those little stars there. There's been some nice versions of this that have come out, but mostly the board looks like somebody copied it on a really old copier and then put it in the oven to make it look old. It's a really neat game. I like it a lot. I think it's aged pretty well. It just doesn't look that great, but still give it a whirl if you ever come across it. So that is number 61 here, and it's the last one of this 10. Thanks so much for watching, folks. We're going to continue going through this list each day of this week. I appreciate you coming on board. Check out Board Game Geek for all sorts of information about these games. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.